converted a bowling alley into the TV studio before they built that grand building on Balltown Road.
Oh, I should have brought it. I have some of the, when they built that Balltown Road, I have some of the papers that you got when you went up there and they had their open house.
Oh, yeah.
So I have some of the people that were there. Jim Fisk gave me an autograph. You weren't there. You didn't give me an autograph, but Jim Fisk gave me an autograph. Freddie Freihofer's show. And let's see, I got Ernie Tatro's autograph, and I got a few other autographs. Earl Pudney.
Oh, that's right. Did you get Sonny Jennings? Do you remember Sonny Jennings?
No, but I also have a WGY, which is the radio station that was affiliated with them.
Right, yeah.
I have an old one of them with some people. Well, Bill Edwards. Yeah. And then there was the Chanticleer guy.
Charles
Stevenson. And his
but you know, the original Chanticleer came from right down here in Stuyvesant.
Really?
His name was Mitchell. You remember him?
Well, there's two guys in there, in that picture, so I don't know if one of the guys is Mitchell.
Yeah, he was the original one.
I remember every morning when I was a kid that my mother would have that station on.
Yes, that's
I'd listen to it just about all my life in the morning.
That's right.
And the rooster would come on, and then they'd, oh, what a beautiful morning, they'd play it, and then that's like 50 plus years ago.
But remember, it's the rooster who crows, but it's the hen who lays the egg. Would you reach behind you and get the picture of the SS Glendora?
Oh, yeah.
We show that to the people.
Yeah. Get it without a glare?
I hope so.
Now that's the way I remember you, Glendora. Though I didn't see the SS Glendora because when I used to watch you on TV, you were on Satellite 6,
That's what
which
you
is
remember.
out of channel that
Tell people.
Well, it was at the shelter, and I'm sure you've told your audience about the shelter. And I got watching a DVD. Because you said you were on the David Letterman show, so yeah, sure, I'll sit down and I watch this DVD, and there you were, being interviewed by David Letterman, given a hard time too, I gotta admit. But then they showed some pictures of you back then, and I'm looking at it, and my mouth dropped open. I said, "You're Glendora, Satellite 6." I mean, I used to watch the show all the time. Probably didn't do a lot of homework because of your show, but Felix the Cat was your cartoon. I remember that. And then, of course, everybody I saw that was my age, I said, "You from around here?" Yeah. And then they all remembered. They all remembered. And they still do, because I still tell them about you and everything.
Well, I thank you for that, because that started me on an endeavor that began maybe 30 days ago, that if John Stickles and his contemporaries, if they still had a warm feeling in their hearts for the Satellite 6, then I'm going to start up a feature for boys and girls now, so that 50 years from now, they will have something warm to remember.
That's a good idea. But like everything, times have changed so that, I know that with... at school, we like to take, pictures of kids and put them in, but there are certain, parents that don't want their kids seen, and it's a different world than it was back in the 50s and 60s.
But we're doing fine with it. We have 4 or 5 children's shows already. It's a children's talk show. We have adult talk shows, so I think it's nice for children to come on and talk about what they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's just, the first one we counted blessings. And it took us 36 minutes to count 6 blessings.
Really?
But it was fun.
They had to think about them, or?
Well, they're just cute. I mean, how these, like Jacob Race, he said a couple of blessings, and he wrote them down in his joy book. And then he says, "I'm through. I don't have any more." And then his little partner, Gabriella, had what Charles Dickens calls the gift of gab, a very galloping, and she was filled in all the time, and then Jacob said, "House, well, now that's a good blessing." And he said, no, no more. And about a minute or two later, he said, summer. Well, he was right, because it was 15 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And then he said, Pastor James, his minister. Pastor Jim, yeah.
So when you started, well, you started in Massachusetts, or in the Boston area? Where did you start? Where was
That's
the first?
right, Pittsfield.
Pittsfield, okay.
Well, I was worked at NBC Hollywood for a couple
Yes,
of
I
years.
heard about that. You actually met quite a few.
Yeah, yeah.
I see pictures of Bob Hope around here.
Yes, yes. I don't know, folks. You don't remember. Do you remember Jack Benny?
Oh, jeez. Of course, everybody remembers Jack Benny.
Do you remember Red Skelton?
Yeah.
You remember Burns and Allen? You
Yeah.
do, because you.
Yeah, I had. Well, but I didn't need those DVDs that I showed. But that's right, the DVDs. You really like those. And Burns and Allen. I always thought Gracie Allen was like the greatest, funniest comic going, but nobody else could figure that out why I liked her so much. But I did.
Well,
George.
I thought she was a consummate artist.
Yeah. I mean, she
Nothing
knew.
dumb about her.
She
really.
knows. She knew how to do what she did,
Yeah.
and she did it well.
And George Burns was at a loss without her.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember Fibber McGee and Molly?
Yeah, I remember that on the radio. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the closet, and they opened the closet. And
Yeah,
everything
the mayor Gildersleeve.
Yeah.
Mayor Gildersleeve. And Horace Height and his musical nights.
Now there you go. Now you're probably past my bedtime.
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope.
Yeah, and Jerry Colonna.
Jerry Colonna, because he did bits on
Bob
Hope. Yeah.
Francis Langford.
Now that name, maybe the face
No.
I would know, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. I
And
remember I was like,
thanks for the memory.
oh, okay, yeah.
Well, anyway, folks,
Jimmy
I saw
Durante.
all those. And one day, I was in the script service department, and my job was running the mimeograph machine.
The mimeograph machine.
Yeah.
With a handle, or was it electric motor mimeograph machine?
It was an electric motor.
Wow. Advanced.
But you had to use the handle to open up and put the stencil down.
Yeah.
And close it up again.
Right.
And so they had these last-minute scripts changes, and they handed it to me, and they said, "Take this up to Studio A." And we were down in the basement, so I was running up the steps to Studio A, and this man was kicking the candy canteen machine. And he says, "I put my nickel in there, and I didn't get my candy bar." That was Robert Young.
Robert Young, Father Knows
This was
Best.
radio. It was not television. And he was up in Studio A, and they were doing the program. And he, on a break, he went down to get that candy bar. Yeah.
That was Father Knows Best.
Yeah, Father Knows Best. It was long before
Dr.
Marcus
Welby.
Welby.
Yeah,
It was Father
yeah.
Knows Best.
Yeah.
And Robert Young is that way. He's extremely personable, and he likes people.
Liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's but there was now but that was in Hollywood. You said you did that, but then you came. When did you decide to get your own shows and stuff?
Well, Bob Hope was very good to me. If he liked the radio audience, he would do an after show for them, and he let me do it.
He let you do the. Did you do
After show.
stand up?
Yeah, stand up. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
So that's where all your jokes come from.
They're that old, yes. They are that old.
I see. So, but then you. So how did you get into the kids show business?
Well, I learned out in Hollywood that that's not where you start out, because you're going to make many, many mistakes, and many important people are going to see them, and that may be the end. So I learned a very important lesson. You go to a small market, and you get
Hone your skills.
Yes, right.
Make your mistakes, but then
Yeah,
get
I
better
made
by
fun,
learning
yeah.
from your mistakes.
And so that would be Pittsfield.
Oh.
And I had this concept called Glendora and a Picture Party, where I would have a small incident from a famous American's life, for instance, George Washington, and I would ask an artist to illustrate that in 6 pictures, and one of the children would come in and then tell the story as they saw it in the picture sequence, and then the other child would come in and tell what he saw in and whoever got the story closer would get a prize. And
Oh.
it was called Glendora and Her Picture Party.
What kind of prizes did you have?
Oh, trinkets.
Trinkets.
Yeah.
Big budget. Yeah.
But you want to know something interesting? That was a UHF. Do you know what that term even means today? Ultra high frequency. It was channel 74.
Channel 17 here, and it was your public. It was a public TV, wasn't it? UHF? No.
No, not public, honey. And Leon Podolsky.
Well, there's VHF and UHF.
Yes, this is the early days of
So
television.
anything above
1950,
13 was UHF.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Very high frequency and ultra high frequency was really what it stood for. But Leon Podolsky, he was some kind of an executive at that. What's the big electric company in North Adams or Adams?
General Electric?
No.
No.
No. Anyway, he was an executive there, and he had this dream of having Pittsfield have its own television station. And of course, at that time, WRGB dominated
Yeah.
everything.
Right. Well, there were
But
only
that's
two
cool.
stations around here.
Only one, really.
Well, with Channel 6, which was NBC at that time, right?
Yes, I think.
And then Channel 10
No,
came along.
This is before Channel 10.
Really? Wow. Then it was just Channel 6.
And before Channel 13.
It must be before me.
But anyway, Mr. Podolsky had the worst luck. Those Pittsfield windows, Berkshire windows, blew down his antenna 2 or 3 times. But he pioneered. So that's the answer to the question. How I. Well, the thing is, why did I have a children's show? I wanted to start out small.
I get it.
You get it.
I get it. But so then to WRGB, which was bigger market.
No, that's a long road. Then to a bigger market, WMUR-TV, Manchester, New Hampshire. And MUR stood for Murphy. Governor Murphy owned that station.
Oh.
And it was not a UHF, it was a VHS, it was Channel 9.
Okay.
And it was a big signal. It was only 40 miles out of Boston, and it went into Lowell, Massachusetts. Of course, it was Manchester, Concord, and up north.
Right.
And that was bigger. That was 45 minutes, and that was the SS Glendora.
Okay.
And since that show was sponsored, after that, I went and peddled it to an advertising agency in Hartford. And guess who their client was? Milton Bradley.
Milton Bradley with the games.
Yeah.
The game guy.
And the crayons.
Yeah.
And Magic Mary doll. And
just about everything we bought in those days.
Yes.
Milton Bradley,
And
it was good.
And Mr. James Shea, who Milton Bradley was slowly going down the tubes instead of being on the tubes. And Mr. James Shea was trying to rescue it. And he bought the SS Glendora package.
Oh.
And he put it on the great big WBZ TV, Boston.
In Boston, right?
Dominates New England, Westinghouse. See, that was another electric company.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so it ran there. But of course, in the game business, you make your money at Christmas or you don't make it at all.
Right.
And after he had sponsored it for about 15 weeks, that would be the end. So I went out and I peddled it again. And one of the places I took it to was WRGB. And do you remember that for some reason the friendly fireman just walked off? Do you remember that?
It might be before my time.
I think it was.
Well, before I
It
can't.
would be 56.
Well, 56. I was 6 years old, and I tell you the truth, I don't remember watching too much TV. I can't even remember if we had one. I know we had one, but it wasn't until like 58 that I started watching.
Well, that's a good story too. When did you folks get your first TV?
Well, I think they got it before. It had to have been in the early 50s, if not 49. My sisters
Yeah,
would know.
49 is reasonable.
My sisters would know better because I was born in 1950, so and if I remember, there's certain things I remember, like I think Saturday was my big TV day, so I think that I remember Wild Bill Hickok, and I remember the you'd like this one, it was Sugar Pops, the cereal, and was Wild Bill Hickok on there, and they had these faces, full-size faces on the back that you could cut out and put strings on, pop the eyes out, and you'd have a mask. And my grandmother, Stickles, who was very, very sick, I didn't know it at the time. I was 3 years old, and I remember having that, and I did what I was supposed to do, and I went in to show her, and she looks at me, she says, "Oh, Johnny, cut it out." And I looked right, I took my mask off, I said, "But I already did." Cut it out. So that's one of the.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Even
cut it out.
At 3 years old, but even in her state of
you can remember
health,
things at 3 years old.
I can remember that, and I remember getting a brand new 1953 Ford.
And you said to her you already did cut it out.
Yeah, and that's all that's about 3 years old. That's about all I do remember.
Yeah.
A couple of those things.
I would have to say my first memory would be 6. I can't remember anything.
No.
But I have a good memory now, so don't owe me any money. So
after, but then Satellite 6 sort of went by as most kids' shows did in the afternoon.
Well, we're getting ahead quite a few years now. Now you're up to 1962.
Whoa.
You're in another decade.
I didn't mean to go that fast.
When I was on WRGB with the SS Glendora, which was before what you remember, and I told you we were down on the Mohawk River, down where the stockade is, and General Electric had converted this old bowling alley into a TV studio. They decided, the management of WRGB decided to, well, probably General Electric decided to stop all this. And within a year, all the children's shows, there was Bill Mulvey, what was he, Bronco Bill? Yeah,
Bronco
Bill. They decided to stop all these. And within a year, they realized they had made a mistake. And so we lived in Buffalo at the time. My husband was a reporter on the Buffalo News for 27 years. And I went back to Buffalo, and they called me up. And when I came back, and this is the reason I wasn't at the opening of the Balltown Road, I came back to Balltown Road instead of the bowling alley.
Okay, so you didn't make that transition.
I used to remember, I lived at the YWCA there, and I could look out and see the Mohawk River. I remember them dredging it with those great big...
Keep it open for the barges so that General Electric could send their turbines down the river,
And then General Electric itself went down the river.
Well, that was much later, but they're not as big as they used to be up there.
That's very sad. And WRGB stands for Walter R.G. Baker, who was a General Electric engineer, and he was the bad guy who dragged off General Electric to Syracuse. And somebody else took a piece of it down to Fairfield, Connecticut. And Schenectady no longer was the glamour place that it was.
It's on its way back, though, I think. I think it's starting to, they're doing a lot with, from what I understand, around Proctor's, building it.
Do you remember the Steinmetz home up there?
Yeah.
Not Terrace up around that.
Steinmetz is one of the developers of the General Electric.
He was a great electrician. Great engineer.
But that was that. Then did that? Now can I jump into the 60s?
Sure.
Then you weren't there anymore.
No.
So
what happened? You know who did that? That was really Ernie Tatro.
Well, we don't want to badmouth Ernie because there's a lot of people that really like Ernie out there.
I don't think we're bad not mouthing him, but Ernie Tatro talked Al Zink. Do you remember Al Zink?
No.
Okay. Talked General Electric into going news. And it really was a national movement.
Yes.
The 6 p.m. news, the television stations could see they were going to make a lot of money on selling commercials on the 6 p.m. news.
And the weather.
And Ernie Tatro pushed that. And that was the end of the children's programs. Yeah. Isn't that too bad?
Well, yeah.
What'd they have to watch coming home from school?
American Bandstand. I don't know.
Yeah, Dick Clark. Yeah, right.
So where'd you go after that?
In 1962, I returned to Buffalo, and I taught Do you understand the phenomenon of what happened to the urban city, the urban blight? Do you understand that? People began to move out to the suburbs, and that dropped the property values, and people with lower income could come in and buy those, and therefore the cities such as Buffalo lost their tax base. Well, this is what you call the inner city of Buffalo, and the Methodist Church down there in Delaware Avenue. I taught church school there, and we had kids coming in from school. They would come over in their lunch hours, and they would come in after school. And we taught church school there for 4 years, 5 days a week.
Wow. Now, you see, you played some of Nor'easter's, my partner, John Scialino, and myself.
Oh, yeah.
And you played some of the music. My old town
exactly
is Buffalo, because he's from Buffalo.
Oh, Scialino is?
Yeah. So, Tonawanda,
oh, sure.
I believe. And so that song is about Buffalo.
Definitely.
And what it used to be and what it's become.
Oh, yes.
As
all of
our
our
Five and Dime and all those songs. Those are all written about Buffalo.
They were?
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
With that in mind, but you could put it in Cohoes, you could put it in any mill city along the Mohawk River.
We were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. All of them. Throughout New England, it was powerful. And so what did I do? I taught the church school, and then I did that for 4 years, and there's a lot of funny stories came out of there what the kids said. For instance, Michael King was 7 years old, and he says, "Now, Miss Glendora," he says, "what do I do with my cookie crumbs?" And I says, "Well, Michael, you can take your cookie crumbs outdoors and feed the ants." And so there was an alley in this concrete jungle in downtown Buffalo, and we did find some ants, and he gave his cookie crumbs to the ants, and he said to me, I said to him, "Michael, you've done a nice thing, you fed the ants." And he said to me, "I wish I could see the smiles on your faces."
You know, ants get very confused.
They do?
The little ones especially, because all their uncles, they're ants.
And then I went into the State University of New York in Buffalo, SUNY Ed. And I became a graduate student because I'd already graduated. And I took physics and calculus because I wanted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went to the university because I wanted to understand the universe. And then I went to Harvard. I was in Harvard summer school the year that the two men walked on the moon.
1969.
And the John Hancock sign came right through my window.
Wow.
And then wait a second, just a second. And then this thing called cable TV came on.
Ah, cable.
Now I was in broadcast TV.
Right.
And I said, "Gee, I better go over there and get my foot in the door in case something does come of it." And of course, broadcast TV looked down on cable TV.
Right.
And so I did, and I started in Lackawanna, which is south of Buffalo.
Erie Lackawanna Railroad.
Yeah, and the Erie Railroad too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Buffalo was a great railroad center. And then I became the program director for Maine Cable Television.
Ah.
And after that, I went to a cable system between Waterbury and Bridgeport, what they call the Naugatuck Valley.
Now they only served really very populated areas, right? And very localized.
Very localized,
yeah.
And you're right, they weren't big places. But there were thousands of people who sent in a check every month. And so that's what kept that going.
Important.
They got thousands of checks.
Would you like to be in cable now?
Well, I am.
No, well, this part, but would you like to be on the operating end of
No.
Time Warner? No.
Oh, no.
You wouldn't want to do that?
No, I'm on the TV. I'm on the air type person. I'm
okay. All right.
the tube type person.
Well, that you've done since 1972.
Well, no, I would say since 1952.
Well, yes, but as far as cable.
Oh, so since cable, yes, you're right.
72?
72. You're right. That's the very year. And then hence I went to Glens Falls. And in Glens Falls I heard the question over and over again that you asked, are you the Glendora who was? And immediately I say yes.
Right, well, you should say yes.
I know it's coming. I say yes. And it's wonderful. And so now I'm looking forward to another generation.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, 50 years from now we'll have warm memories about a childhood television show. Do you think there will be television in 50 years hence?
If it is, it won't be what we're used to. It'll be something, it'll take us a bit, with, I think with the internet, that's your new cable TV, you know, with YouTube and everything now that and you're on YouTube, though I can't find your newest ones on YouTube, but
You can't?
Well,
What do you mean by the newest?
Well, I put a chat with Glendora in, and then I put the number, like 4992.
How about 5,000?
Well, now 5,000 comes up and says it's not there. So, but I haven't checked in the last month and a half, so let me check again.
I know it's there.
Okay. And it should be.
You know, I was adding up the other night. There's 670 on the Chat with Glendora website, and there's about 450 on the YouTube. That's 1,000 shows on the internet. Isn't that an amazing technology?
Yes, it is. It's amazing. I got to tell you, I'm quite honored to be here with you, and of course
I'm honored by that.
Thrilled to death that I got to meet you after.
Yeah, you showed it. You were running around.
But
running around asking everybody, do you remember Glendora on WRGV?
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, it's I couldn't believe it. You know, it's like the most important person I've ever met. So.
John, thank you, John Stickles. And he even infected the Red Cross workers. One of them texted her husband and said, did you watch Glendora when you were a little boy? And he texts back and he says, yes, it was my favorite afternoon show.
Yeah.
And
so,
I thank you for that, John.
Well,
in fact, I would say that you're pretty much 60% responsible for this new feature that we have.
Well.
The SS Glendora After School Happy Show.
Okay, well, good luck.
Yeah, thanks. So you must have seen and heard funny things dealing with children in schools.
Yeah, I do, but I can't always divulge, you know, everything that I hear. But
that's too bad.
There are some cute things, and you know, I've met so many kids. I've been only teaching. I didn't start teaching till I was 32 years old. So I'm in my 27th year now.
Really?
In education, yes.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a couple years to go before I retire. If I retire, I don't know if I want to or not. But I met so many kids and different kinds of kids. Being in special education, you know, you're attached to kids in a very different way, I think. I remember one time, when I was in Cahosen, when we could do something like this, we ran a little deli. And I had a refrigerator in the classroom. I had about 10, 12 kids in the classroom. And we ran a deli. And the deli actually served sandwiches, made and served sandwiches, took orders. It was a pre-business type of thing that I developed.
It's good.
Till the Board of Health came around and said, you know, you need this, you need that.
Yeah.
And then
they spoil all the fun.
Then they started telling me that I needed to charge sales tax and stuff like that, and that if I was paying the kids, and I was paying them like $1 a day or something like that, and that was, I had to pay them minimum wage. I said, that's it. That's it. But the teachers used to make their orders every morning, put them in our room, and then my kids would stop a few minutes before their lunch. They'd have the time that they ate, and we'd stop 20 minutes, and that would be our program. Part of the program is that everybody had a different job, and we'd make their sandwiches. We had a certain way we made them, and wrapped them up, and you know, we used the plastic gloves, we used everything, the hats, and the kids really. And I did have one kid who went into the food service.
Oh,
did go into food
that's
service
great.
Because of that.
And yes, that's great.
And though I do remember one time we were all talking, because we used to talk while it's a good socialization thing too, because people had to work together and everything. And the one girl looks up and says, "Daddy." And I look at her and she goes, "Oh my gosh." But I think some of the kids sometimes saw me as their not knowing exactly what kind of families they were coming from. But
yeah,
you know, you are sometimes the parent.
oh, definitely, definitely. See, you had an effect on her and will all of her life.
Yeah. Well,
Such as,
we'll see. I don't know. I haven't. That was that was about 20 years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah. I do want to thank you because the minute that we were disabled.